We good? We live?
We're live. Well, we're not live.
No, we're not live.
Fucking, can you imagine us live?
It's terrible. We're like take 3. Hi guys, and welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to talk about supplements. It's a pretty big topic in sport, fitness, nutrition and health, I suppose. What did we do last week? Strength, wasn't it?
Yes.
If you haven't listened to that episode, go back, have a listen. Let us know what you think. We must be on over 10 episodes now, and we've tried to structure this so that you're getting the most benefit from the series of episodes that we've done. So go all the way back to the start, give it a listen, give it a follow, and the knowledge builds on each other, and we'll continue to do that, I think. So yeah, supplements. Let's go.
Alright, start off the topic of conversation with creatine, right?
Right.
I started supplementing it a few weeks ago,
Okay.
maybe a month and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I've not changed my diet too much, but I managed to put on about 6 kilograms.
6 kilograms?
Which for me, by the way, I don't fluctuate my weight a lot at all. But 6 kilos in not quite 6 weeks, maybe a bit more than 6 weeks.
Uh-huh.
But yeah.
That's good.
Mega that, isn't it?
So a healthy weight gain is about half a kilo to a kilo a week. So you're still falling in that healthy category of weight gain, which basically what I mean is by healthy weight gain is you're probably laying some good muscle, and you're probably not adding too much fat mass. You probably have, gained some fat mass as well. I'm not saying that you look it, but it's just natural. If you're bulking, then you won't gain 100% muscle. That said, creatine, how much are you taking?
Probably, because I know, I've seen from a few studies that 5 grams is the norm.
Mm-hmm.
But my little scoop is 3 point something, so I'm taking a scoop and a bit.
Scooping a bit. So try and round it about 5.
Over, yeah.
Cool. What sort of creatine are you using? Not that it matters.
It's a company called Kinetica, which I use because they're
sport informed, aren't they?
Yeah, sport informed. I think it's just 100% creatine, I think.
Monohydrate, glutamate. There tends to be
monohydrate. I've got it in my bag.
Okay. Most of them tend to be monohydrate. There's very little variance between them. It's just what they're bound to. It doesn't really help absorption either. It's just different forms of creatine. Creatine. So how has it helped you gain weight? Essentially, it's a very well researched supplement. There's loads and loads of research out there about it. I know we spoke about it probably in one of the energy episodes. So again, if you haven't heard, go back and listen to that. But essentially, creatine is used as an energy system in our body. So within the first sort of few seconds of a high intensity exercise, you're using your creatine kinase, creatine phosphate, that's stored in your muscles. Now, by supplementing creatine, you're building that reserve of creatine, which means that you can essentially do that high explosive bit of exercise for longer. So it's almost more beneficial.
Repeated, is it?
And repeated, yeah. Replenish. When you use that energy system, you're essentially breaking the bond between phosphate and creatine. But because you've got more of it in your muscle because you've supplemented and you've built up that reserve, it also replenishes that far more quicker, so you can go again. But what it also does is it can increase strength, it can increase power. Lots and lots of studies again behind that. It can increase anaerobic performance, so you can work out at a high intensity for longer before you're fatigued. And it can also increase aerobic performance. So you can, for example, running again at a low intensity, you can do that for longer before hitting fatigue. Now, all of those things add to, when you were talking about your strength, how to adaptively add strength, and we're talking about progressive overload, that just taking that supplement allows you to progressively overload, because you can add more weight to the bar if you're in the gym. It allows you to run for longer, so you're doing that overload system, which allows you to build muscle. So that's why you might have gained more weight. Obviously, you're probably eating more, but it wouldn't.
Maybe a little bit more, maybe.
It definitely wouldn't all be down to the creatine. You'd definitely have to be eating more and be in a calorie surplus. But creatine allows you to build more muscle. You also do get more water retention when you get that bigger storage of creatine. You do actually get a bit more storage of water. But I mean,
so roughly of the. I know this is a bit of a road question, but of the 6 kilograms that I've gained, what percentage of that would be water? Or is that an impossible question? That's just
it's pretty impossible, because essentially as your muscles grow, which they will do because you're training more, you're eating more, and you're taking creatine, you are able to store more glycogen, like we spoke about in the carbohydrates. That storage form in the carbohydrate episode. The more glycogen you store, because your muscles are bigger, the more water you store. I think there's a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 grams for every 1 gram. 2 grams of water for every gram of glycogen you store. So if you're able to store an extra 50 grams of glycogen, you're able to store an extra 100 grams of water, which all adds up, if it's over the different cells and things like that. So I don't know exactly what percentage will be water, but you would have gained some water. You'd have gained a little bit of fat, but you would have gained muscle at the end rate. So creatine, great supplement, and it's also backed by like the FDA. It's backed by I think it's NCAA, which is like the National College Athletes Association. So that's an American association, which is like, I think it's backed by WADA as well, so it's the World Anti-Doping Agency. So it's legal to use for anyone who's participating in sports, and it just gives you that little edge. In performance, there is so little margins. If you look at the top sprinters, it is milliseconds between getting a gold and coming last. If you're taking those supplements, and that's able to get you over the finish line a bit quicker, that's the difference between winning and losing.
Absolutely.
Second. Go on.
Sorry, I'm just going to...
Max has got to leave the podcast.
That's fine.
And he's back.
I'm back. Sorry. I'll cut that bit out. I was just double... For some reason I had a second where I was just a bit like... Did I press play? Did I press record? Sorry, mate. Yeah, carry on. I'll cut that bit out.
So, essentially, like I said, creatine, top level sports performance supplement. I would definitely tell anyone to take it. I think.
Are there any drawbacks?
Any drawbacks?
Or things you have to be careful of, or overconsumption, or
not really. I mean, don't be silly. Stick to the manufacturer's guidelines. So. If it tells you to take 5 grams, that's generally because there's lots of research behind 5 grams. So don't go taking 10 thinking it's going to give you twice the benefit. It probably won't. I don't know if I don't think there's any long-term effects. I think there's lots of studies looking into the long-term effects of it, and they found none. I think there are some concerns that it could be affecting kidney damage, or like causing kidney damage. But the truth of that is, your kidneys naturally excrete something called creatinine, which is different to creatine. But when you go for like a blood test or a marker, because you're taking creatine, your creatinine levels are naturally higher. And if you have high levels of creatinine, then that sort of suggests that you've got kidney damage. So if you're looking at that from an external source and they don't know they're taking creatine, it might look like they've got kidney damage, but actually it's just because they're taking creatine. So
it's almost equivalent to like a false positive kind of thing. It's
exactly.
Not like real. It's not an actual thing.
But it's not actually causing any kidney damage. But so many benefits to it. So many benefits. And especially, you're in a contact sport, if you can add a stone, which you've basically done, and you're still able to run as quick as you can, talking about that power equation, you've kept the same speed, but now you've increased your weight, which is essentially the strength, and you're more powerful. So for athletes, I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think women as well are concerned. Like I generally hear from a lot of female athletes, do they want to take it? And actually, why wouldn't you? It's a performance enhancer that's legal. If you're an athlete, why not? Any other supplements you want to touch on?
There's loads. I have quite what's it called? Quite an opinion on pre-workout.
Go on. What's your opinion on pre-workout?
My opinion, and I'm not biased, right? I'm not biased at all. However, I think traditional, like pre-workouts that come in scoops of powder, which have like fucking up to 300 milligrams of caffeine in, is just overkill, and I think it's counterproductive. I think it's daft, if you ask me, to be honest. Like having a cup of coffee, which is like 30 milligrams for a normal cup, like what's called flat white, about 30 milligrams, right?
About 120.
Is it?
Yeah. It's mad, yeah.
Fuck off, really?
No.
I'll bleep that.
You'll bleep that.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it?
If you have like...
Where have I got 30 from then?
Don't know. Back pocket. If you have like an instant coffee, one with the granules.
Yeah.
That most people would have, a nice cheap one.
Yeah.
That would be about 50.
Oh god.
But if you're getting like an actual
I've got that wrong.
flat white, it's about 120.
Okay. Well, nonetheless, right. My point still stands. I have a cup of coffee.
Yep.
And that'll stimulate me enough for me to think, okay, I've eaten well, I've fueled myself well, I can have a flat white, and then I'm good to go.
Yep.
When I've tried pre-workout in the past, it's made me feel like tingly and a bit itchy and a bit sick, and my head's like not spinning, but like can't concentrate. And this is where I'm going to be biased, because James, you do work for Chew Gummies, and I'm not like just saying this, and I'm not, you're not paid me to say this, but they're good because the Chew Gummies are essentially just little sweets.
So for those of you that don't know, I also co-found a chewable sports supplement company. We're not trying to plug the product here.
No, I'm bringing it up. You know what I mean?
Brought in. It's essentially a pre-workout that we've got, which is in a gummy format. It's like a fruit pastel sort of thing, but we don't have as much caffeine in as the traditional pre-workouts, but they work an absolute bang. And that's I think what you're trying to get at. They've got lower caffeine dosages.
Yeah. And you can have as many or as little as you want. Yeah. Like, I remember last time I had a bag, I'd take like 4?
And that'll be enough for you?
And that'd be like, yeah. And it wasn't like, it probably hit me about the same as a coffee. That's how it felt to me. Yeah. But then you can take up to, I think the recommended dosage that you have is like 10?
10.
Yeah. So.
But essentially, 4 would be the same as your coffee, so that's probably why it was enough for you. Yeah. But I mean, pre-workout. So just going back to what you said, when you're saying you felt tingly with the traditional pre-workouts, that would be because of beta-alanine in there. So that's one of the main ingredients of pre-workouts. Like you also mentioned caffeine. Lots of pre-workouts are loaded with caffeine, and there is reason for that. So caffeine, for one, has loads of research behind it for improving sports performance. It improves strength, 1 rep max if you take enough of it before a session. It increases power output, so if you're doing anything explosive sports wise, it's fantastic. Improves anaerobic performance, so again, that sprinting time, you can sprint for longer, sprint quicker. It also allows you to run for longer if you're doing aerobic fitness, things like long distance. It allows you to run for longer without getting fatigued. It's pretty amazing how it works. But I think when you're saying there's like 350 milligrams of caffeine per serving, everyone's different, but you need 0.4 milligrams per kilogram caffeine for I'm fairly sure it's 0.4 milligrams per kilogram of caffeine to essentially elicit that benefit to you.
Okay, right.
So for some people that are small, naturally short and don't have a bigger body frame, that is a big hit of caffeine. But then, for example, if you're looking at someone who is 6'4", absolutely stacked, that might not even touch the sides.
Yeah, makes sense.
But caffeine is one of the main ingredients of pre-workout. It's really good for sports performance, but again, also has some drawbacks. It can ruin your sleep cycle, and obviously sleep is really important for recovery and rest. You touched on the tingles. That's beta-alanine. So beta-alanine is found in most pre-workouts as well because, like you said, it gives you that tingle, which some people really like because it almost makes you feel like something's working. Do you know what I mean? Like you're taking a pre-workout, and if you didn't have those tingles, you wouldn't know if it's actually doing any benefit. But because you're actually feeling something,
almost like kind of similar to a placebo effect,
yeah, almost
not in the same way.
Yeah, so it's eliciting that response, but also beta-alanine. What it effectively does is over time, overtaking it continuously for like months. It is like a couple of months, 6 weeks to eight weeks. You build up the reserves of something called carnosine, which is in your muscles. So when you take beta-alanine, your body converts it into carnosine. Carnosine is a natural buffer for lactic acid in your blood. So when if you're doing repeated sprints, let's say I said, okay, you've got to run 10 lengths of the rugby field and you've got to do it as fast as you can, your legs towards the end are going to be absolutely shot, and that's because of the build-up of lactic acid. Lactic acid is there to actually protect your muscles from doing damage, but carnosine buffers that lactic acid, so it almost like stops that lactic acid taking effect. The more you have of it, the better it is at dampening the effects of lactic acid.
It's got a positive charge because a build of lactic acid is like
lactic acid is positive. Hydrogen. Yeah, so it would have a negative because it buffers it.
Yeah,
close. But essentially, the more carnosine you have, the better you are at buffering lactic acid, and that's why it actually does have a positive effect on anaerobic sprint time. So it's really good for like CrossFit athletes. It's really good for anyone sprinting because you can sprint for longer before that lactic acid takes over. So obviously, I know it's a protective mechanism, but at the same time, if someone's chasing you down in rugby and you've got another 20 metres to run, if your lactic acid is taking effect and it means you're running slower because of that and you don't score the try, actually you'd want to get the benefits of that lactic acid buffering. Or for example, in a CrossFit competition, you've got those final few reps to do and your legs are burning, but you're getting that buffering effect, so it allows you to win. So that's caffeine and beta-alanine. They were both in pre-workouts. What else is typically in pre-workouts? So you might have like citrulline. That's in typical pre-workout. So citrulline, what that does is it gets converted to nitric oxide. Nitric oxide naturally dilates your blood vessels.
Yes, yeah.
So I think it gets converted to arginine. So you take citrulline, it gets converted to arginine in your body. Arginine is important for nitric oxide production, and then nitric oxide can help dilate your blood vessels. Why is that important? Because
allows blood flow around the body quickly.
Louder for the people at the back.
It allows blood to flow through your muscles quicker and more efficiently.
Yeah, and what benefit would that have?
You get to oxygenate red blood cells.
Yeah.
So you're going to get transport of oxygen to your muscles faster.
Perfect. Yeah.
And also the opposite, so taking dead blood
taking
cells,
all the shite, all that lactic acid that you're building up, it can get that clear quicker. But also delivers nutrients like sugar, glucose to your muscles so they can keep working. Also, if you're bodybuilding or whatever, it allows you to get a better pump because you've got better dilation of your blood vessels.
It makes you look sick.
Makes you look amazing. Vascular.
Vascular.
Vascular. That's essentially the main ingredients of pre-workout.
Yeah.
Creatine is sometimes put in pre-workout, but creatine doesn't need to be taken before a workout. It's sort of
whenever, as long as it's in your system.
Yeah, because it's that build up over time. Same with beta-alanine. You don't actually need to take it before a workout for the benefits to take place, but people include it in a pre-workout because you get the tingles and it makes you feel like you're doing something. But creatine, you don't actually have to take that before a workout.
Going back to creatine, I've just remembered a tip that you gave me a few weeks ago before I started doing this little weird cycle that I'm doing is to consume it with sugar.
Yeah.
With creatine.
Yeah. So creatine, a bit like anything really. When you have a high amount of sugar in your blood, your body's natural response is to clear that blood of sugar, because too much sugar in your blood is bad. That's why people with diabetes who can't control how much sugar in their blood tend to have all these problems. So if you're fit and healthy, don't have diabetes, and you take creatine or anything with sugar, you take a protein shake or whatever, you take it with sugar, you actually spike your insulin. So insulin is a hormone which regulates high blood sugar levels. It helps bring sugar levels in your blood down by putting sugar into cells, thereby reducing the amount of sugar in your blood. So if you are having creatine and you take that with sugar, you spike that insulin and you allow the transport of creatine into muscles a lot quicker. So creatine is stored in the muscles, and you're helping that delivery of creatine into the muscles by taking it with sugar. So it means you're not wasting the money that you're spending from supplementing, because you're actually getting more of that creatine that you're taking into you. That's essentially pre-workouts, I think.
Yeah.
And creatine.
And you kind of also touched on other things like caffeine, as a supplement.
Yeah. So I mean, if you don't like pre-workouts, like you said yourself, take a coffee. There's absolutely nothing wrong with just having a coffee as a pre-workout. You don't have to be, stimulated to the eyeballs to get your workout or training session done. You can just have a coffee or an energy drink which has caffeine in it and can give you those benefits of caffeine. You won't get the benefits of all those other ingredients, but at least you're getting the benefits of the caffeine itself.
Yeah, I again, opinionated on the caffeine side of things. Even still, like, as well as with caffeine, obviously, if you like to train in the evening, maybe it's not the best thing to take, because it's going to obviously affect your sleep. So again, I'm not a massive fan of like pre-workout types of stuff unless it's managed. But
I tend to take, for example, if we're playing rugby, I'll take a Pro Plus before, and I'll take a Pro Plus at half time. And that, I think that contains like 70 milligrams of caffeine, so it's essentially a coffee. But by just giving myself that, caffeine also increases alertness, and essentially reduces your perception of fatigue. So it makes me feel more awake. If I'm sluggish at half time, I can have a Pro Plus and it'll ping me right up.
And most of the time, you're going to have like an early afternoon kick-off where it's not really going to
and it's not going to affect your sleep. Exactly. I think if you are taking a heavy stimulated pre-workout before you go to bed, you're going to have issues, and obviously sleep is one of the most important things of muscle growth and recovery. So you need to be mindful of
that. So the two that sort of go hand in hand is protein and BCAAs.
Oh yeah. So
let's start with protein, because that's one that more or less everyone uses.
Protein. So there's lots of different protein powders out there, and they all essentially do the same thing. You've got whey protein, you've got whey protein concentrate, whey protein isolate. They're all just different forms of whey protein, but one is slightly more protein because it's more concentrated. You've also got isolated protein, which is a higher concentration of protein again. It's got like less fat in it, even though whey protein is really quite low fat. You've got like mass gainers as well. Mass gainers tend to contain carbohydrates and fat, almost like a meal replacement. It's got all the macronutrients, and essentially they're all there to do the same thing. They're all there to be a convenience form of protein, hence the name protein shakes. You've also got another protein called casein. Now, whey protein and casein are two milk proteins. So in a glass of milk that you would pour out the fridge, you would have whey protein in there, and you'd have casein. Whey protein is rapidly broken down by your body and absorbed, for like fast delivery of protein or amino acids to your blood, to your muscles. Whereas casein takes longer to be broken down, and you get like a steady release of amino acids. So both can be really useful. Again, like I said, they're both there to just raise how much protein you are eating in a day. In the protein episode, we spoke about making sure you're meeting your protein intakes, but making sure you're spacing them throughout the day. And then in the recovery episode, we also spoke about making sure you're getting high quality proteins. So those two different types of protein, the whey and the casein, can be really useful at different times. So whey protein, really useful after exercise when you need, you want to maximise that recovery, because you're getting that rapid breakdown, the rapid delivery of amino acids to your muscles for the repair. But then casein can be really good for, a lot of people take it like before bed.
Yeah, I was going to say that, yeah.
Because, again, it's that slow breakdown of protein and that slow like drip feeding your muscles with amino acids. Typically, if you don't eat anything after your last meal, let's say most people have their last meal at like 7 o'clock at night, don't wake up till 7, you've essentially gone half the day. Is that half the day?
Yeah, 12 hours.
12 hours? Oh, Christ. You've gone half the day without eating anything. You've gone half the day without providing your body with any substance to help grow. If that's your goal and you want to recover and you want to, or you want to even, promote muscle gain, you've gone half the day where you've not provided your body with anything. So casein's really useful in the evening to take like before bed. So oh, bless you, Matt.
Sorry.
To like drip feed your muscles with high quality proteins. So they all do essentially the same thing. Just give your body more muscle.
Give your body more muscle.
Gives your body more protein. So yeah. What else we got? What other ones are on your mind?
Well, you got BCAAs, which
Oh.
I know are a simpler broken, well, like a brick to a house of protein.
Oh, I like what you did there. Yeah, nice
like
analogy, nice metaphor.
So I always thought that it was. I've never really understood why you'd supplement BCAAs over protein, other than the fact that again, because it's a simpler, more broken down form, I thought maybe it digests a little bit quicker.
Yeah, no, I mean, it does digest a bit quicker. Like, BCAAs they're amino acids. BCAA stands for branched chain amino acids, and there's 3 of them. You've got leucine, isoleucine, and valine, and they are essentially the building blocks of like skeletal muscle. I think there's been lots of studies and it's shown that muscles are built primarily of those 3 amino acids. But that's why people think if you supplement with them, you're going to get massive, because you're giving your body the tools it needs to build more muscle. But that's literally not the case, because essentially when you're building any sort of form of proteins in your body, whether it's muscle, whether it's collagen for your hair, whether it's keratin in your nails and things like that, you are, or your body is only as good as the lowest amount of protein you're giving it. That's why that's why you've got essential amino acids. They're the amino acids your body can't make. If your body can't make them, you need to get them from your diet, and by giving your body only 3 out of the 9 that it needs, you're essentially limiting. It's like, you have filled your car with petrol, you filled your car with screen wash, you filled your car with brake fluid, but you haven't added any oil. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You need all the components together, which is all the amino acids, to get that muscle growth.
So you're doing the good analogies now.
There we are. Look at these metaphors coming in. So yeah, I mean, branched chain amino acids are fine to supplement as long as you're potentially taking them with other forms of protein or essential amino acids. I think BCAAs can actually be limiting in terms of muscle growth, because when you provide your body with, only the 3 out of the 9 that it needs, the only place it can get those other 6 is your muscles. So what it does is it breaks down your muscles to generate like a pool of those amino acids to then rebuild the ones that it's just broke and the ones that you're trying to build through training. So actually it can induce more catabolism, which then needs more anabolism to get better, to get further than where it was. So I wouldn't suggest taking BCAAs. I don't see the point. They're a waste of money. If you do want to supplement anything in your workout, a lot of people take BCAAs within your workout, then just go for essential amino acids. You can get that in powdered form, and then you've got all of the amino acids that you need for muscle growth. Why are you smiling at me with such a grin? What have I missed?
You just don't like BCAAs, do you?
Can you tell?
Yeah.
I really hate them.
Yeah.
Waste of money.
That's funny.
But yeah, I can't think of any other supplements.
No, none that
are of importance. I think there's always a new supplement round the corner that claims it does something amazing for your sports performance. Essentially, it's all bollocks. There's no. If it's claiming something and it's brand new, there'll be no research behind it. Someone would have just made it up to generate a profit.
Yeah.
If it really does improve your performance that much, it's going to be banned. Because, it's a bit like taking steroids, for example. It's significantly improving your performance greater than someone else's. So it's going to be banned, or it's either banned and you don't know about it, or it's just a complete waste of money. So, I would just stick to creatine, caffeine, beta-alanine and citrulline, and make sure you're getting enough sleep and vitamin D. That's probably about it. Any questions? No?
No?
There might be.
There might be. Just because I'm on this creatine.
Okay, you really want to know about creatine, don't you?
Yeah. It's working wonders,
Yeah.
so I'm curious.
Yeah.
Is this something that I can just take once a day forever, or do I cycle it, or do I...
No, you just keep taking it.
Once a day, keep taking it.
Keep taking it.
Until I'm 100 kegs, and then I can stop.
Until you're 100 kilos, then you can
I'll be
stop.
wider than I am tall.
Yeah. No, again, like I said, there's been some long-term studies and they've not shown any adverse effects. You can naturally get creatine in your diet from red meat.
Yeah.
Obviously, the more red meat you eat, the more creatine you're going to get. Don't think there's any adverse effects at all. Not that's been published yet. They might do in the future, and then I can change my mind once you've reached 100 kilos and you're dead. But at the moment, everyone, creatine is absolutely fine.
Cool.
So we hope you enjoyed that episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Be sure to check out our other episodes and give us a follow on My Athletic Compendium on our Instagram. Max is nodding. Wonderful. Hope you all enjoyed, and take care. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.